Can we teach wisdom? This is a really important question that we should ask before we really get too deep into a course on wisdom. Can wisdom be something that I, as a teacher, can teach you? Is it something that you, as a student, can learn? Can you read a textbook, study for an exam, ace it, and then be considered wise? I would actually argue that there are some very real challenges to teaching wisdom. I don't think we can actually teach wisdom per se. That being said, I don't want you to turn this video off and start binge watching Netflix, because I think that there are some very powerful things that we can do. So why am I saying that we have some challenges when it comes to teaching and learning wisdom? Well, there's a number of areas of difficulty. One has to do with teachability. Can I teach it? The other has to do with learnability. Is this something that you can learn? And then the other has to do with application. Does what you know in the class translate into action in the real world? So if we look at teachability, there are some real barriers to teaching wisdom. So one of the barriers is that we need wisdom in situations of complexity. Right? If the situation is simple, we don't need wisdom. It's easy, it's simple to solve. We need wisdom when the situation is really messy, really complex, and this is very difficult to mimic in a classroom environment. Moreover, wisdom is subjective. We each have different values, and so the actions that I think are wise, you might think are dangerous, right? So if wisdom is subjective, then who am I as the teacher to say what is or what is not wise? In a similar vein, remember one of the themes of wisdom is that knowledge is required but insufficient, because we often find ourselves operating in environments where our knowledge is limited or flawed. We don't necessarily know what the right answer is. If we knew what the right answer was, we wouldn't need wisdom. We'd just go off and do it, right? But we need wisdom when we don't actually really know what the right answer is. So, again, who am I as a teacher to assign you a grade for something that you've said when nobody actually knows what the right answer is? So there's some real challenges about my ability as a teacher to teach you to be wise. Now, how about you as a learner? How can you learn wisdom? When we think about how do we gain wisdom over time, we find that people become wiser through experience over their lifetime, like over time, right? So you experience, and over time, like when you're 50 years old, you're going to be wiser than when you were 20. Now, this time, this experience and time is something that, again, we cannot duplicate in a classroom. So is this something that you can actually learn, right? Some challenges there. Then finally, in terms of application, right? There's knowledge versus action. So remember, wisdom is action-oriented. It's doing the right thing. Now, you might write a paper in my class, and that paper might be beautiful. It might change my life. It brings me to tears. Oh, my Lord, this is the best paper I've ever read. Yet, when you're actually out in the real world, and the risks of failure are real, and the consequences of failure are real, will you actually do the thing you said you would do when you wrote the paper, right? So just because you did well in an assignment in my class doesn't mean that that will necessarily translate to action in the real world. So for all of these reasons, I would say that we cannot teach wisdom, we can't teach wisdom, per se, specifically. But that being said, all hope is not lost, because I think we have this very powerful ability to develop wisdom. So remember these three themes of wisdom: values, rationality, and power. These are the pillars around which we can build a discipline of wisdom. We can help you develop your understanding in each of those elements. You can understand how these things operate in human systems, how they drive human behaviors, and how they influence organizational action. You can develop the skills that wise people rely on. So we may not be able to teach wisdom per se, but we can give you the skills and the insights that wise people use in hopes that you can use those and develop those throughout your life. And that's what we're going to be doing in this course. So, I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.